Hey good people, Batavia here. Welcome to my Chicago garden. We've reached the last chance in the season to both enjoy some of our summer plantings, but also to really give our fall plantings, cool weather plants, an opportunity to take off and thrive. The clock is ticking. Let's dig in. The garden has transitioned since we were last together. We have our lettuce transplants that came outside too early. See, this stalk is a sign that that plant is bolting, and there's really not much you can do about it. In some cases, some varieties, the leaves will become bitter, so that's going to be one of the first plants that I harvest. The plants came outside and it was still pretty warm, 70-80 degree days, and lettuce just doesn't like it that warm. So here we are, but we have some younger plants in the backyard that are doing better when it comes to they'll probably get to full maturity. That's such a pretty sight. Love the red of tomatoes, but like them to get a little bit more color on them. There are two that have began to blush, and then there's one more in here that has a bit more color, but these are out in the open and the squirrels are running rampant, so I do want to harvest those and let them ripen inside. We're getting our green night eggplant. Let's see, sweet peas, so green peas. I went back and sowed in this same spot. Not sure if it's going to actually produce. We still have some cucumbers. These are primarily from the plants that are planted along the fence line. I've harvested a mess of beans, and these have gotten too big for my liking. Remember, if I see the bean protruding for regular green beans, it's a little bit too large for my taste, or too mature for my taste. 5-gallon buckets. We'll see them in the backyard as well. White bale started off as a pale yellow, then it gets a little bit yellower and then actually turns gold, which I don't remember from growing it a few years ago, but it's lovely. I'll see if there's a different flavor, like if there's a different taste once it gets more ripe. I would expect that, but not sure. These plants went in June 14th based on my tag. So we have some bell peppers here, plenty on the plant. And you can see, I think I've picked one red pepper. So it's taken just that long for these peppers to turn red. So I want to harvest that. I also have, I direct sowed some spinach over here. Not sure what happened, but it didn't take. I thought I did more spinach here, but this is where the deal was before, and it went to seed, but I think they just dropped in this container and they came up. I did direct sow some cilantro. Some of it's come up. Our triple delight. I'm gonna harvest the red, or things that are turning red. Favorites, chocolate sprinkle. Enjoy these so much. I've done a great job at staying on top of these versus some other things and harvesting them because the squirrels are eating away at them. So the cucumbers that are planted along the fence line, the cucumbers that are in the raised bed with the lettuce have just about given up, and I'm gonna let a few more produce before I pull the plants. I see on top there's a little bit of powdery mildew. I just don't want that to spread. And here we have some direct sowings. This is mustards that are kind of going in an X, and then I have a couple of transplanted kale plants that I started off with direct sowing in a GreenStalk in the backyard, and then because multiple plants came up, I sowed it heavy. I just decided to give it a whirl. Not gonna produce like a full huge plant based on the time we have left, but it's okay because the cabbage worm enjoys eating on things like kale and mustards even. I have it covered here with insect netting, and then in here I transplanted 4 kind of around that circle chard plants. There's some parsley, yeah, they're parsley in between, and then I have basically some onions from this spring that I never planted that we'll harvest as green onions. So funny enough, I meticulously direct sowed spinach seeds in perfect rows in this garden space. None of them took. So I transplanted some taxoy in there, and then because the mosquitoes were so bad, I scattered the spinach seeds that same day over here, and they of course took. Bunch of volunteer tomato plants from where the squirrels have helped themselves to our favorite chocolate sprinkle. No time to grow tomatoes this season though. So this space, we'll see what it produces. It's not the sunniest spot, and generally speaking, the weather has been pretty hot for spinach. So we'll see how it does. I'm happy to see it's germinated though. All right, we're risking it all by coming back here and sharing this space before I pick those tomatoes. I have these 2 green stalks that I've turned into 3 tiers. GreenStalk has an actual 3-tier planter. I like this size, especially given I had so few things to transplant. So I did some flowers in the bottom, which I like to do, and then I direct sowed, I think these are turnips, and then I transplanted some of the chard that I had. I have them over here because I just recently transplanted like this lettuce, and I just needed to give it a bit more shade than where their home will be. So a couple eggplants that are just putting on, plenty of flowers. And then speaking of flowers, that's the sweet potato bed. So it has just gone wild. And I have plenty of sweet potatoes, leaves and flowers. Let me say that. Let's hope that we have plenty of sweet potatoes underneath. So this space, I'm going to keep covered just because anytime I uncover it, I'm always risking, you know, the cabbage worm. So let's talk about what's inside. 2 kale transplants. I have some top bunch collard transplants, which have become one of my favorite to grow. I've pulled some plants that have just basically suffered either from wire stem, which I've had in my garden on occasion, or some other condition that's created a weaker seedling once I've transplanted it. In any place you see like the soil, I've direct sowed some things. So here's the younger lettuce, parsley in the middle, and then I have some more perpetual spinach. These I think were started in August indoors, and so I transplanted them in September. Still maybe a bit too early given the heat that we've had. Let's see. A new GreenStalk blackberry. I just love this purple. So I direct sowed everything besides a couple of lettuce transplants. So we have some loose leaf lettuce down there. We did, let's see, scarlet kale, which didn't take off. So I think where my dino kale came up, I ended up moving some of those transplants up. I have, let's see, purple plum turnip. This is supposed to be moved in a lettuce transplant down here. Purple top turnip. And I really want the turnip to develop, so I'll probably come in and thin this, and then there's some loose leaf lettuce down there. So we have a pitilli looking cabbage plant. We do still have all of our carrots. These all should be picked. I picked a couple of carrots and it was so hard to get them out of the soil. The soil is pretty dry. I've not watered them much knowing that I'd be harvesting the carrots. Finally broke down and pulled out the marigolds from over here. I still have mint heaven, white bell, that basically has started off as a pale yellow and now full on orange. So all of those can be harvested. Celery needs some watering. My wall of peppers, serrano. Every year the shishitos get away from me. I really want them green. Beautiful bell pepper. Anytime you see red for peppers for me, it's time to pick them. Here are the purple bells. A smaller pepper. You can see it actually will turn red as well. This is a bit soft, so this has been out here too long. Still viable, like if I pick it today, tomorrow. The Jimmy Nardellos, one of my favorite sweet peppers. We're going to try to get into a raised bed and see if it can produce some more next year. More jalapenos. This mint is struggling a little bit, peeking around corners because I just don't know what's out here waiting on me. Let's see. This is easier to get on and off from a covering standpoint. Kale from the spring I've been harvesting using cut and come again. So all of those spots down there is kale that I've picked. The arugula, it's time to get a cutting of that. I have one more kale plant on the other side. And then I have turnips in the back, some bok choy, and then I transplanted a cauliflower plant, which isn't gonna do much. Y'all tell me, if you're growing beets, are you growing them in the summer? I had great luck with beets this spring going into summer, but not so much when I've planted beets coming basically summer heading into fall. So things like this, something's gonna gnaw away at it. So I'm gonna try to tie that down or pick it. Okay, doc, so this has been a bit of a mess this year. This is the potatoes that I had been babying all year. And I need to come in and dump these containers. So red potatoes, these potatoes have been in this container so long where they've started to sprout and create new plants, which is not what I want. Let's see. Yeah. So potato has started to grow a new plant, which is not ideal. Potato is absolutely still edible. So we'll come in and dump those. I just haven't stopped to do it. We have beautiful red bells. Our tomatoes have given mixed results this year. Boxcar Willie has done wonderful. That's what we're looking at here. Cherokee Purple, I always have mixed results with it. Some orange bells, true bell pepper that's going to turn orange that needs to pick, and then I think there's a yellow on the other side. So here's our yellow bell, which we have some more down here. I have to be careful about leaving yellow bell peppers, I find, on the vine too long once they've matured to yellow, because they end up getting spots on them. At least that's been my experience. Thanks so much for spending some time with me. I appreciate y'all for watching. I appreciate the likes, the comments, especially the comments. It's nice to be able to connect with you. I so appreciate the shares of the videos and my channel. And for those that have subscribed, thank you as well. What's going on in your garden? Drop below. Have you reached your last chance date? Is it coming up? What's the last thing you're planting for the growing year? Where are you at? And do you still have summer plants in your garden? All right, so for me, you've seen my summer plantings. The last of the pepper plants, tomato plants, eggplants. The eggplants are probably, along with the cucumbers, are the only thing I expect to see new growth from in the next couple of weeks. For my tomatoes and my peppers, what's on the plant as far as a mature, let's say, size of a pepper, of a tomato, that's what it's going to be. I'm not going to get kind of new development from flower to actual production with what we have left in the growing season. And that's okay. They've produced a plenty this season already. What's left on the plants, it's going to be a real treat. Having fresh tomatoes and peppers from the garden in October, it's a blessing. So I don't take it for granted. My fall plantings, I can say I've actually reached the last of them as well when it comes to getting them into the garden. So transplants I'm done with for the season. I've planted everything I'm going to plant. My direct sowing, we have about 5 weeks left before my average first frost date, which is about November the 1st. Although last year was one of the first years since I've been monitoring it closely, it didn't come until mid-November. But really, the average first frost, or the actual first frost, isn't the biggest deal. The daylight, right? So every day we're losing a bit of light. Happens every year, right? That's going to impact how they're able to really mature. The cool weather plantings, most of these things I have will, actually all of them will survive a frost. It's when we get to the freezing temps, and then how long we have those freezing temps for. That's what's really going to impact how well some of these things do. Collards and kale, which are in this bed, they're going to be the hardiest of things that are in my garden right now. I'll pop in a picture from mid-January of 2024 where I harvested the last of the kale, collards, celery, parsley. I think I still had chard left as well. And I only pulled them out of the garden at that point because we were reaching like sub-zero temps in the coming days. So I knew those plants, at least the foliage that was on the plants then, wouldn't survive. But keep that in mind when we think about what's in our gardens now and then what will remain in the next weeks and even months. So If you have any questions or comments, as always, feel free to drop them below. And I look forward to seeing y'all on the next one.